I wanted to run for the financial secretary position. But at that time too, I knew that I understood politics and the effect that it has generally on the society. So at the time, I knew that this was not just going to be a regular department thing, that I am through my journey through life, I would be involved in politics, governance, and things that impact society and that influence lives. I mean, you know how powerful politics or political power is generally. So what did I do differently? I went to meet then the man was about 70, he was over 70 then. Was one of the party some people are professional politicians. So I know they go for ward meetings in the area. It was Yaba then in Lagos. I went to meet the man. I came from school and then, Daddy, I want to see you, sir. This is I want to go to this party that you people they go for ward meetings, LGA meetings, party meetings, some caucus meetings. I've always known that, but I just know they go. I don't know where or how they run some of these things. So I went to him and said, "Oh, I'd like to come to your meetings and join a party and things like that." And then he said, so I was not so interested in what party or not a specific party. I just wanted to understand grassroots politics. Don't forget, I was doing political science then on campus, and I have a background knowledge that politics is first local. I mean, it's not just a cliche, it's a reality. It's first local. It's the touch point. So I went to him, and then I was invited to the ward meeting then in Yaba. And I went to the first one, I went to the second one, week in, week out, and I saw a different view. And maybe I should start on that note. I saw something different. I saw that the regular market woman, mommy, this one that sells this one, baba, this one that sells that is the organizer. This when they come to that forum, they understand real politics in quotes. That's what Hans Morgenthau calls it. That's realism. They understand politics as it is more than a number of us that seem to be educated, that seem to be young, enlightened, have the right energy. You hear conversation. They are discussing, as at that time, they are discussing matters that concerns Lagos, but specific references to some local government, the decisions that are being made, why they need to give the slot of maybe a particular agency of government to this local government or someone from the. It was so different, and then you began to see conversations around policies that are about to be made that you and I don't even know yet. It was a very beautiful, different environment. Local, you see argument, you will see for and against, you will see interest. And in one of those days, maybe another thing that I saw was that, I mean, somebody who wants to contest for the position of maybe even chairman or House of Assembly in the next election would come around, give them money for, I remember I collected like 260 naira or 270 naira from the sharing of, oh, this one use it to take drinks and things like that. When they come to pitch, or what you call pitch, or I mean, tell us, oh, present themselves and things like that. And it was beautiful. Then from there, it transcended to myself joining the caucuses. In fact, I attended the two major caucuses at the time. I am in the one happened in the house of the chairman of the ward. Long story cut short, I just want to highlight that because it's significant to what we're doing. Yes, it was politics, but more than politics, it was about participation beyond election or electioneering process. And that's a good background. So, I mean, today, this year marks 20 years. I mean, from that, it's been a long journey. And since then, I'm not a career politician.
Has finished.
Come again?
I said the 270 has finished.
It didn't even last. It was even funny because, I mean, I didn't expect that was going to happen, but I mean, it was an interesting experience. And then that launched me so since then, all through my stay on campus, of course, later I did some politics on campus, and towards my final year, I was very active in I was like the backbone, maybe I would say the consultant student part of NANS at the time from Lagos. We'll go to Edo. I remember Oshomole's one man, one vote rally. We'll go to Edo, so we did a bit of politics and saw that, okay, Because one of the things that informed some of this action was what my lecturer then, is late now, Professor Abaka Momo, used to say. He will say that your the economy of a nation cannot be right where the politics is wrong. So, and that speaks to political economy, that your economy, your policy, your strategy cannot be right until you fix your politics. And it got so enticing, and it will break it down. You see that real, in the midst of all that we do, at the heart of it, we cannot push politics aside. And that's why I find this topic very interesting, because it leads us beyond complaining, like he says. So let's really dive. I mean, then another experience that I'd like to share that happened today. I was privileged to meet with someone, sat with him for over 3 hours, who is a major voice, one of the foremost, those universities called Premier. One of the, he had served as the vice chancellor, and now I hear his name on channels almost every now and then. When you watch politics, there's just this advert that his name is being mentioned. So I now had the privilege to sit with him for about 3 hours. We're trying to do some project for him, and in 3 hours questioning this man, I began to see degeneration over time. I mean, at some point in the voice, in his tone, I was hearing regret and neglect. Maybe that mixed together, regret and neglect of how 40 years ago, after his own, I mean, when he started his journey, Apple school and things like that, how things deteriorated. And he got at me, and I have to ask him, sir, at what point do you think that we missed this point? Of course, a number of factors were mentioned, but maybe that will come into play right here. But let's go straight into the main conversation. In 2023, yes, in Nigeria's 2023 election, fewer than that's like the least. I mean, it's not encouraging. Fewer, I mean, about 30%. Yeah, exactly. I have it on the screen now. Fewer than 30% of registered voters actually voted. I mean, that's a data that we need to pay attention to. That means that over 70% of Nigerians effectively excluded themselves from choosing their leaders. Yes, you could say that the voter register itself was not cleaned up, somebody have died, but it does not change that fact. And of course, question is, can a democracy truly represent the will of the people when most of the people are absent in its defining process? It's a question to ponder, because I mean, we see the trend. We see this happen year in every 4 years, and I think I want to appreciate the conclave for this initiative that you sustained over time. I mean, building conversation around politics, policy, participation, civic duty, our responsibility. I mean, it's not that easy, because it's not your conventional engagement. It's not, you are talking about how to make it, entrepreneurial skill, soft skill, hard skill, and things like that. But it shows that we are beginning to understand the import or the importance of this. So it's a fundamental question. How do we then change the narrative? And it leads us to the next slide. I will try to run through this slide because there are a few thought lines I'd like to share, especially towards the end. Now, how do we reframe the problem? The dominant view. Oftentimes, leadership failure alone explains governance crisis. Oftentimes, when we what's the word now? When we that's the dominant view. When we look at what is happening, our challenges, our reality, everything boils down to leadership. That's how we term it, and that's why a number of us will quote Chinua Achebe, who had said that the fundamental problem of Nigeria is leadership problem, political leadership, actually. That will fix the leadership, right? Don't forget, the leadership is the one that provides the vision, the direction, the policy, the manifesto, I mean, everything, implementation and things. It looks as though once the leadership is right, every other thing falls in place. So that has been like the dominant mindset. Well, our leader. If you discuss, if we start having a conversation about Nigeria now, you will see that oftentimes by the time we are diagnosing the problem, it boils down to leadership. Our leaders are wicked, they are selfish, greed, and things like that. But it takes two to tango. And that brings us to the incomplete picture, which is one-sided analysis that often ignores the citizen's role. And I think I love what Kinsey said at the beginning of this. He said the office of the citizen. is not just a cliche, is a reality. Is something that over time has just been something we used to just maybe often occasionally when there is a challenge or when there's a trend or when there's something that just pop we respond to we respond with office of the citizen, and then after a while there's no capacity to sustain whatever energy has been generated for continual engagement, maybe I should say it that way. And then over time it just becomes like a cycle. Something happens, we shout, and I've observed that trend. Any major intervention, any major crisis, any major thing that spurs up maybe a bit of protest or opposition to government policy and things like that, it spurs up for a while. After maybe after a short time it comes down again, every other thing takes up. And that's why they say that one of the best ways politicians have learned how to manage Nigerians and Nigerian youth is to always find something to distract us. When we look and when it seems as though we are gathering or we are mobilizing against their policy or their direction. Politics is actually a game in a sense, because some persons are master players. They understand, for example, that religion, that ethnicity, that some of these things that they are tools that can be used to play the game, and they know when and how to play it. As a matter of fact, politics is defined as knowing who knows when and how, getting what you want. When you there's a particular definition, Aaron Laswell's definition of politics, that knowing when and how. That's getting what you want, knowing when and how. So they know when, they know how, they are master strategists. So that's why I call them politicians or people in that space. However, the office of the citizens sometimes, especially in Nigeria, is docile generally. And I'm not saying we don't have pockets of individuals who are agitating, who bring up their energy, who are trying to bring a level of mobilization or formation to that office or to that position of citizenship. The citizens engaging. Unfortunately, it's still wobbling. Compared to what it should have been vis-a-vis in the context of our reality or our challenges, especially with the political class. We are way, 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 way behind. But just to move on very fast, so governance itself, it's a balance or a combination of the state and society interaction. That's what forms governance. So governance is not necessarily what politicians do. It is what we do. It is the entire process. It is about the management of our resources, the commonwealth, our commonwealth. How is it distributed? How is it harnessed? How are we balancing our interests? Because governance itself is about interest articulation, then interest aggregation. So you have an interest, maybe you have a group. Your group can be ethnic based, it can be religious based, every group interest. It can be maybe even professional based. Everybody has a stake, and that's why it is governance. It's an entire framework. And it is also the government are the ones managing the process of governance on the behalf of the governed, because it is two. And that we'll get to social contract theory as we proceed. But I'd like to just highlight this reality because we need to reframe the problem. The problem is not first government or politics or election or who becomes APC or PDP or Labour Party or ADC, all these things. It's not first the problem. The problem first, it stems from mindset, stems from a bit of understanding. It was my understanding that drove me in 2006 to go and join. Then I moved from ward level. I would go to these LGA meetings. I began to see until you get involved at some level, you will still be just creating theories and grammar that seem to be explaining the situation, but it's not capturing the details. And I think I need to highlight that fact. So shared responsibility. So persistent failures equals participation failure. So you can see now that I'm taking responsibility as a citizen now. The persistent failures that we've seen over time is participation failure. Because if I ask you, to what extent is your participation in the governance process?
Right.
Yeah, I know governance is wide. You could say, oh, in my own space, as a tech expert in this, I'm creating a solution that solves. But behind that solution, you're also trying to become a unicorn. You are trying to grow. So the motive. What is the motive? So sometimes we say we are really patriotic, and then the motive behind your patriotism is so that you can also be heard, so that you can build a brand persona, you can build your own personal brand, you can get brand visibility, you can appear as though you are, so what is the motive? Because if the motive is right, if the motive is really strong, and I don't want to say patriotic because it takes two to tango, really, and I'm not trying to. If you really understand that motive, that if that motive is clear, and it is maybe from the place of um patriotism, service, a willing heart, and things that you will not easily give up. And I'm not saying it's wrong to give up, because a number of things happen. We've seen things that just, that makes you, in quotes, give up, even after because if it has not happened to you, you may not. I was taking up before in SARS crisis in 2019. I had a farm in Eruwa in Oyo State. I was traveling, and then SARS people picked me up for nothing. Oh. They had checked my paper. Other people, when they stop them, they will give them. It's a federal road. Igbora Junction before Eruwa is in Oyo State. So they had stopped me, and then I didn't want to. Other people just give them 1,000 naira, 500 naira. I didn't do anything. I just brought my paper, showed my license. Do you know what they did? It was the first time. They said I should open my boot, bonnet. I did.
Ah,
They checked my
your
number,
phone number.
and they checked chassis number is correct. Maybe one or two numbers was not exact the way it is on the document with the one that they had to, clean up the employees to check, and they said no, something is correct. How are they sure that
You didn't steal the vehicle.
stolen vehicle? They picked me that day with the car. That was a terrible, traumatic experience, because at the end of the day, they said this Friday, you are going to. I didn't even know how to find my way out there. I had to give them money.
Mm.
So that was a personal experience. And I know that some of us right here at different level, it may not be with the police, it may be with policy, government agency, perhaps, that has frustrated your genuine um, willingness to play your own role and be a value to our society. So all of us have that at different level. However, I still want to reiterate that persistent failures over time is is equals to participation failure. So let's move on straight up. The next slide. So it goes to, okay, so the fractured social contract. I said I was coming to social contract. I'll try to run very fast. I understand I have a number of things to say, but I'll try to speed up because of question and answer. I think I had that already. Um, there's an expectation. Social contract, yes, is a theory that has been propounded by a number of scholars, Ginger Crosu, John Locke, Thomas Hobbes. The context is that government is a social contract. I said it before, between the states and the societies, the government and the governed. So we submit a part of the difference in the three of them is that some said you submit your absolute rights. That's what Thomas Hobbes was saying, that we submit our absolute rights because the state of nature was solitary, poor, brutish, and short, nasty, and all that. However, some said that, like John Locke said, that we submit a part of our rights. So that means that legitimacy still lies in us, the citizens. And I think that is what has come to be the foundation of American democracy, liberal democracy, that we have also come into. Do you see now? So that means that the legitimacy of the authority of government lies in us, the people. We only give to a selected representative, because we can't also all govern, to do that on our behalf. Now, the question is our own role. We expect good governance, accountability, and service delivery, but we often neglect active participation,
Mhm.
electoral engagement, civic responsibility, and that is and this legitimate government derives from active consent and participation of citizens. And that's that. Let's move straight to the next slide. That brings us to the major to the question: what is civic sorry, back a bit. What is civic duty? It is more than voting, and that's all we've come to say tonight. It is more than, yeah, I participated in the election, I've contributed my own quota. No, that is just an act. That is a singular act. Civic duty is an awareness first of your rights and the issues. Question: if I throw it open now, how many of us really know our rights? The constitution will say we have the. Do you have a copy of the constitution? If you have soft copy now, do you even have? Just go to fundamental human rights. That article. Just try to even understand the basics. Do you know your rights? Do you even know the issues? A little effort to understanding the issue can liberate, can just open, instead of just jumping on trend. Somebody just post something on Instagram and everybody becomes, because an influencer. Can we even ask questions and check things out? So that is one. That is your civic duty. Understanding. Bible says in all you're getting, get understanding. Wisdom is probably direction, right?
Yeah.
But so do we have understanding of the issues? So a part of our civic responsibility is an effort to understand our society fundamentals. Okay, Prophet has spoken a lot tonight about our local policy. Do I even know what is the state of my local government? I just condemn. Another number two, consistent participation, a sustained one, not just a one-off election. Consistent. Now we'll talk about how to in the law, maybe this at the end. But it does find also active accountability mechanism, then collective political action. You see, this collective political action is one of the things that we have not been able to achieve. We have individual politics. Sometimes we respond, we protest, but we are not proactive to mobilizing. And mobilization does not need 1 million people. A 100 professionals. And I want to say this during the NSAS protest. I remember one of the articles that was the most profound that I read. It was written by Dr. Emmanuel Tafa, when he highlighted the things that we needed at the time to do now before we lost these fights. It was on Facebook. I mean, very, 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 very profound. He said, I mean, it was clear that yes, we have created this energy. We have gained attention. The government, they don't like to be already under pressure. They're already calling for leadership needed to emerge at the time. That was a beautiful opportunity to hit some things and get some things running. It wasn't just to get a not too young to run bill. After not too young to run bill, how many of us have gained political? The people that are young that are taking responsibility, are they not the children of these same politicians? So who has the bill favored? Because we didn't understand the issue, we just felt it was just not too young to run, not too young to run. And then we just felt answers, then they created SWAT. So it's a bit of confusion. There was a need for there to have emerged collective action, a team, a form, I mean, just some persons to come together and say, this thing we must not lose. This is an opportunity in history. Let us mobilize and engage based on, let's pull down. But unfortunately, we allowed, I don't want to say they allowed, the politicians have the way, we allowed. Those guys came in and messed it up. It was also a strategy, if you understand policy, it was also a strategy to disrupt them, confuse their language, and then get them out. And unfortunately, we didn't maximize that opportunity. Maybe another will come in history. It doesn't have to be violent, but it can actually achieve a result. So civic responsibility is the sustained responsibility of citizens to shape, influence, and monitor governance. Sustained. I had to underline that. Sustained responsibility, not a one-off, not a hit and run, and then we get clout and then we go off. Then the next slide, please. Okay, so it is more than, I mean, of course that has been said. Now I quickly give, as a political scientist that I am, there are like different lenses to understand the Nigerian political behavior, because you will see yourself in so if not from sociological context lens now, you cannot define our political culture, which is reasonably parochial. That's why we have apathy. We are not really involved. We just feel that it's for some set of people. So it's difficult to take it out of our social environment. What is your view or your lens of politics? For example, our socialization has taught us that politics is something to be distant from. It's a dirty game. You know, all those content, all
Right.
those concepts. It's a dirty game. It's something you should push out from. Yeah, you want to go and join them. Oh, they will. You can't do it and be sane and things like that. Also, there's that is already in our social environment. So that mindset has shaped the involvement of a number of us, such that the only thing we see politics is just to talk about it, complain about it, and vote if we can, or sit at home. That's sociological context to learn. There's political economy that speaks to our, I mean, high poverty, for example, increases susceptibility to vote buying. A man that is hungry, that is paying, I mean, you now say you should not collect 5K, a whole 5K, just to cast his vote. Is it you that will give him another 5K if he does not? So those are things that we don't forget that also part of this is also education.
Yeah.
That's part of, so that, like, is people you don't know so much, you just feel that, oh, I mean, even those that are enlightened, they feel that if I don't collect this money and I vote you, there's even no trust. That, oh, you are the one that I believe in. There's no trust. People that we've trusted over time have disappointed in a number of cases. But does that mean that we should now not be able to mobilize and have a form towards that? So vote buying still continues. No matter how much effort we put into it, it does not mean that it will not happen. It's already happening. It's not what happened on the day of election. As I speak to you, vote buying towards 2027 is happening in different shades and forms, and we all know it. Thank you. So systems theory speaks about, please, it's also an education. System theory says that the political system is a system. It has input and it has output and it has outcome. Input comes in form of demand and support. So you could either support a government policy, maybe around tax, or you make demands into it. It comes into what we call black box. And in the black box is where the government is. The judiciary, legislature, and the executive, they make policies and decisions. It comes out as output in form of policy, legislative decisions, act of parliament, and then it becomes law. So by the time that output comes out, the effect on the society, maybe we are finally there is maybe what's it called now, students loan, or the effect on society is an outcome, and then it comes again as feedback as input again. That's how the cycle of systems theory is. The question is, how much are we putting into the black box? Are we really making the right demands? Are we really putting the right energy to change and to influence what happens in the black box so that our our output can be better, and it will have a better outcome? That is the effect on the society, right? And if you are not doing enough, what is the feedback system? Are we just resigning to have it? And the last theory I have here, I quickly use it to teach political science here. I hope you get it.
Yeah.
Then the last I have here is group theory, because all these things are what I've informed. So it says that every policy is about group, and I said that at the beginning, that your group, you are a group, you belong to a group, either as a Christian or as a Muslim, as someone from maybe a south, somewhere in the south, somewhere in the southeast. So you belong to a group, and that group has interest. Your professional body, for example, is a group. Once people gather, there's an interest they want to get from the state. They are all stakeholders. Question is, when these groups align, that's why you say interest aggregation and articulation, how much we are able to now maximize. But unfortunately, you know what has happened? The interest of the elite, the minority elites, have become so dominant that we've lost it generally, and I mean it has messed up our system. Let's quickly move to the next. Don't worry, I will. Okay. Now, lessons from history. Are there lessons from history? Yes. On leadership and delegation and inclusion. We saw it in Moses' case. He was overwhelmed by governance until Jethro advised him that, see, guy, there is a structure to this thing. It's not just you alone. It makes you too powerful. Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Delegate 1,000 level, 100 level, 50 level, and things like that. That happened. That was a wisdom. But also in Nigeria too, specifically before independence, we had high civic mobilization. You know why? Because you were not first thinking you are Hausa, Igbo, or Yoruba. Don't forget, we had already become like one Nigeria since 1914. But towards 1960 now, our interest was get out the colonialists, get out the oppressor, and we are one Nigeria. So the emphasis was not so much about where you come from first. It was about mobilization towards that. Unfortunately, because I still say this as someone who understands politics and policies and some of the things that have happened to us, our reality, so political behavior, military governance or military era was did a disservice. No matter, I know you will say, oh, they did infrastructure, see, military rule by decree, you dare not question. So up till now, the residue, and I'm not saying because Nigerians say, no, they have gone, their colonialists have gone. The residue of oppression from colonialism to our own local, then military government up until 1999, where you don't question redeem. So by the time you see, that's why we say our 1999 constitution is faulty. By the time we're taking over, or the constitution itself. That's why all this amendment, until there's an overhaul, we'll still keep struggling. And you can say it's not about the policy, it's about the people. What produced the people? So those are fundamental. So the people were produced by an oppressive. That's why we say power is too centralized. All these things were wired because we're coming from a military background. Let's move straight to the next one. I want to quickly round up and then take questions. Okay, so the consequences of civil, I've said this: elite capture, small group or small organized groups control political system. There's weak accountability because there's no sustained citizen pressure on leaders. Not a one-off. I'll give one example on this now. So we have one-offs that have made impacts. There's this girl I saw, and I'm not absolutely 100% in support of maybe her approach and some other things that you could say, oh, maybe whatever. But the effect of her action just in the last few weeks, the lady that will be in a BRT and then be complaining about. I was listening and to the news, and I saw that the Lagos State Commissioner for Transport responded, said
Yeah.
that, oh, they are in conversation with her. They have made just a lady made an effort to call out a social disorder that was inconveniencing hundreds and thousands of people consistently, and not because the buses were not available, but some politics and some nonsense were happening, and it made an effect. Imagine if that was if there were, people share supported online, and that has gone, and that's unfortunate. That's what happens in Nigeria. Trend happens, after a while everything goes back to normal and we move. So that sustained citizen pressure, and it has to be organized to be able to get sustainability, because over time, if it's just one person, except you are Showore, if it's just one person, if it's just one person, you will get tired, and your family will call you in, socialization will come in, people will call you to order and all that. So those are issues. Now, so who should be organizing? People like Kisti, people like Emmanuel Tafa, people. We should not just be giving the wisdom. Can we do something? Can we mobilize 50 people and let us be bringing narratives, bring direction, engage government, do press release, just put some level of funding. And then get some more. And we can do these things. It doesn't cost so much. It does take the right will and the right people and the right energy. One person has made this, a number of, let's just move on fast. Poor leadership. Another consequence of our civic apathy. Poor leadership, because weak participation continues to produce weak candidates. And that's what happens. The worst of all are leading the best of all of us. And it has become a pattern. And so you see the person, if you go to your local government and look at your councillors, look at the people that are legislating, because local government is big deal now. And I think we should start paying attention to that more than ever before. Big deal. Big deal. So go and look at the councillors. It's just a number of what we call clientelism and prebendalism in politics. That means that patronage system. You serve me, I will give you office. And when I give you office, you must use it to serve, you must use it to pay back. That's what has become, from local to national level. That's what has become our reality. So we have poor leadership, unfortunately. Yet we are smart people, audacious people, movers and shakers of things in Nigeria. A lot of us here and things like that. But who are the people determining direction? They can say no, environmental is society. They don't go out. No matter how very powerful you are, the one that is determining things can just, you can see how you can even. So the political power is key, and I think we don't lose sight of it. But civic apathy is worse. We cannot afford to remain on that side of apathy. Last one is corruption and treachery. Of course, without civic oversight, malfeasance thrives, corruption thrives. And what are global lessons? Let's move on. India, Ghana, Brazil, social, South Africa, those are like lessons, but because of time, let's move on. So I'm just saying that these people to have similarity here. We're about the last two slides now. They have similarities with us. I mean, colonial heritage too. A number of things worked against them too in the past. Large population, diverse population in some cases. Especially India was. But leadership. But leadership does not just fall from heaven. It will take you and I to be involved and define or decide that leadership. And we have to start small, start from where we are. We can influence from our house of. There are levels, even if it's those people that will still emerge, because they know that Kingston will question, hey, these people will come. When budget started with the guys, them, the budget guys started. Exactly. They started putting people under pressure. They started bringing on data. When Sahara Reporters started then, you remember those days of Sahara Reporters, whether they is true or not, a number of times, some of these things are, but in the midst of that exaggerated data or whatever they were bringing were also some facts. And it was making politicians to be very careful and being aware. But some of these things that's doused again now, people are using our social media engagement is primarily to, and I'm not saying it's wrong, it's right, but we should not lose sight of this too, because at the end, one policy direction or policy direct whatever can turn up everything and they'll say no more access. So a call to democratic responsibility. How do we get in? I said this before: awareness and education. All of us promote political literacy in communities. Do it first with your family. Just do it as take it as a duty that I will orientate, I will learn something and share. I will learn something. If 10 of us, 20 of us, or 100 of us take it as a responsibility to learn something, I said that at the beginning, to learn something about maybe the issues and then share, to encourage ourselves. See, we can shape this nation from our corner. So let us promote political literacy in community. Number two, electoral registration. Let us register early, encourage community participation. That means that in church, that's a community, right? In WhatsApp group, just encourage, just do your own. We are not saying, I know some of us have been injured, and I said I'm also on that table, right? Injured, our patriotism has been injured, such that we just want to move on or jackpot or whatever. But in the heart of our, like I told the professor today in Ikoyi, that in our heart of heart, even Nigerians living abroad, a number of them still feel that things should just get, they're not expecting the very best, but just things should just get same, better, a bit of safety and security, a bit of justice, a bit of fairness, a bit of equitable distribution of resource. I mean, just the fundamentals. Like Beautiful Nabi, I love that song so much. It says the your average man doesn't ask for too much. He only wants what you and I want. A safe place to lay his head at night. Is that too much to ask? He wants his kids to go to good school so they can become somebody. He wants them to grow up healthy and strong. Is that too much to ask? Says so much. I mean, so my brother, don't you see? We must bring some sanity over here. How can one person carry everything away while so many have? I have a number of songs that just speaks to my heart. They are not even gospel songs. I mean, I don't want to go into be like say they want to tell us another story by Two Face. Powerful lyrics. What I mean, amazing lyrics. It says, I mean, another year has come, election year has come, and then they want our vote once more. Another year, a number
Yeah.
of wisdom in some of these songs and things. So please let us get involved. Let us give our votes. Let us mobilize. Say it doesn't. Let's still give it. Let's mobilize. Consistent voting, vote in all elections, not just presidential. Local government election happened in Lagos just recently. Last year, how many of us voted? That's an indictment. I mean, you could say you are busy and things like. Just ask yourself, why did you not vote? Did you even try to even support a candidate? Just bring your own brother. He's registered. He has a vote. Let him be the candidate. Get a party and then make an effect. Reject transactional policies at all levels. Please do. Vote buying, promote issue-based campaign, build organizations, create local civil groups, engage collective advocacy. Please, you can create and engage. Then institutional engagement, attend town halls. I do this when I have time because they are do, but even if I'm busy, I go to my community and then attend town hall meeting, even if it's just to listen, to understand what's happening there. Attend town halls, engage legislators, track policies. In that TBC, like let me use this as an example. Sometimes in 2015, I remember myself and a lady, Bisiola, were in the church office in TBC Lekki. We will go to the local government beside her. We just said, okay, now we talk about this politics, let's engage. We will go to the local government and then ask to see the chairman. One of those days, we met the chairperson, the chairman, and then we had the conversation. He was an interim chairman, and we had the conversation. We were able to point the attention to a major problem in the community, and he gave us audience. So you would think that they are far away. No, just demand. We want to see. There's freedom of information bill that we are not even scratching. We don't even understand how much we want to take advantage of it. And you can even sue them. I mean, that's part of it. So last thing, a democracy that citizens refuse to participate in will inevitably be controlled by those who do. And you know those who do, right? So the last slide, please. The last slide. Okay, so conclusion, a call to democratic responsibility. Nigeria's future is not predetermined, right? It is constructed. Please note that our future now, from today now, it is constructed. regardless of what we say has happened to us or is happening to us, by our choices as citizens, by our actions, and by our responsibility. Of course, the crisis we face is not just political, so leave the politicians and their political problems, while it is more fundamentally civic, and it takes you and I to respond and make the necessary adjustment. I hope with this viewpoint of mine, I've been able to convince us that civic responsibility is beyond and far, far, far more than elections and things that have to do with politicians. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Femi. I mean, this was very, very insightful, very powerful exposition on the topic.
Thank you.
I have learned so much. I've been writing. My notepad beside me is is full just in case we don't get the slides. So I've taken some very, very
No,
solid
I'll
notes.
send the slides to you immediately after now.
Fantastic. I appreciate that. So lots of very solid points. Power belongs to organization, not numbers. For me, I think that's very profound on many levels because the assumption would be that just gather the people, and I think that is somewhat the level that many of our politicians are operating on right now, where you have a lot of the northern leaders propagating just you give birth to children, populate the north so that they have the numbers, even though they are not as organized. So the organization is at the level where they've come up with their parties, and then they've also like withheld certain things from the populace, particularly in the north, so they're not exposed to education. I remember one time I had this project we're working on in Katsina, and we went to Daura, which is where the former president, was from. And one of the schools, they had to sit down and agree with parents there to say, okay, you know what, the children. So they had to negotiate with parents to allow their children to come to school because they were like, if they go to school, who's going to work on the farms? So there was just really, it just shows you the way schools there close 12 o'clock. So whatever it is that you're doing, make sure that you're done, by 12 so that you can go to the farms and, all of that. It's not even every day, right? So I think that's also very, very powerful. I know some of us have questions, so what you can do is if you drop your question in the chat uh, section, I would read it out just so that we can maintain a good flow. But there's also some questions really in line with what we're talking about because I appreciate the what you've done, the exposition you've done. However, one of the arguments that you find, particularly when you go very, very local, because this is is very sound, definitely. If we had a larger population of our people quite educated, at least basic education up to secondary school level, at the very least, then we would have majority of people, who will be able to appreciate this. However, when you speak with the local people, just like I said, they have a good sense of how politics work. But the way they understand the way politics work is the model of politics that we have created locally. That system of politicking will not work, it will not be effective, in other times, in other places, because so for example, if you talk about the US where they have electoral congress, and they have all of these, and the way it's sort of structured and layered, or in UK where it's a parliamentary sort of system, then you understand that what we do here, whilst it might seem brilliant or this person is a master strategist, it's the basic level, right? However, the way that has manifested for